What's going on today, guys? Back to the BI Edge again with Nick. So what we're going to do today is we're going to touch on the petroleum industry in Queensland. So what we've done with WA and SA so far, we're now going to do the same for Queensland. I'm just going to run you through sort of the steps that I take when I'm sort of doing this process of scaling the Australian mining industry. So basically the plan is for this series is we're starting with petroleum. We did WA, we did SA, now we're doing Queensland. After we finish Queensland, we'll move to Northern Territory. And then we probably won't look at New South Wales, Vic and Tassie or ACT because there's not a lot of petroleum operations happening down through those regions, to my knowledge. So I think, this is sort of getting us in the 90%, 95% accurate mark here with the available data, which is definitely good enough to add some serious value to businesses. So what I'm going to do here, start off with, is I'm going to show you how to get this data. So just coming over here, I'm going to go to Queensland Spatial to start off with. So I think it was yeah, go history. Then we're going to go Queensland Spatial Catalog. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to come onto this website here to start off with. So Queensland Spatial Catalog, Q Spatial. We've got, you do a search, Petroleum Leases Queensland, okay, and you just go down to download data set here. This is also another good data set here that I'll be using from Queensland's government open data portal to try and work out the production statistics for each particular lease, because it kind of gives me a bit of idea around what's happening with the market in terms of production in the petroleum in Queensland. So to work around this one, it's a bit different to what we did in SA with SA Rig. So what you want to do, you want to come here, you want to go download data set. You go file, we'll go shapefile. I'd probably go GDA 2020. And then what you want to do is you want to put in your email address here. Okay. So once you put in your email address, you accept the terms and conditions and you go request download. Now, I've already received my email. So basically, I'll just show you here what it looks like in the download. So basically, the Queensland government will send you a file. It's like this one here. So this is the file here, the QSC extracted data. So if I try and pull that up, okay, it just looks like this. And you've got, all the files in here, okay? So you can't always get that into QGIS that easily. So there's another workaround here that I just want to show everybody what you can sort of do to bring that shapefile into a CSV. So what you can do is you can go over here to this My Geo data, and you just go browse files to convert, okay? And if I'm going to go here for downloads, I've got my data set here, okay? So I just click on that. From there, I go next, okay? And it'll, I'll do this. I'll do this one for everybody so you can kind of see how it works. So let's just say I'm going to go to this one. Okay, so I've got USC extracted data. Go next. So it's analyzed the data here. So this is called My Geo Data Cloud. You get 3 goes of this per month. Otherwise, you have to pay for a subscription. And it shows you the section of Queensland where those petroleum-based mines are located or sites are located. So you can kind of see that, if we look at Santos, for example, we know that they have Gladstone up here. Their pipeline runs from Gladstone down to sort of that Roma region here for the GLNG project. So you know that a lot of the sites are all in this kind of region here, sort of west of Toowoomba, between Toowoomba and Roma. So that kind of is that's pretty accurate, pretty logical there. We go, looks good. So we want CSV here. That's all good. We're going to convert that to CSV. Okay, so now we convert data. So we're getting permission from the Queensland government for the shapefile, and then we're using that shapefile to put it into a CSV to generate some insights. Okay, so now I've got that. I go download. Okay, I come here, bang, there's my thing there, petroleum leases. Okay. Yes, I've already got a workbook called petroleum leases there. I'll just close this one. Okay, cool. So I'm going to click on this. Right, so this is how the data comes out. So straight away here, you just want to do a Control T. We're just going to leave this as the raw data here. So I'm just going to save this as um, Queensland petroleum leases, raw data, and we're going to put it into an Excel workbook. From there, I'm going to put this into this folder here. I'm going to go save. Okay, cool. And you just want to just double check that's an Excel workbook. Yep, it is now. Cool. All right, so that's good to go. So now that's good to go, what we want to do is just have a bit of a look at some of the variables that are here. So we know that that's going to be title name here. Um, they're all going to be petroleum leases. Are they granted or is it an application still? Okay, sure. The sort of permit type. We want to know the lodge and approval date and the expiry date because that's important to kind of get a bit of an idea as to who's in the market at what particular time. And then over here, these are the operators. So this will tell us how many oil and gas companies have got how many leases in sort of in Queensland, and it'll be able to sort of somewhat scale the market in terms of who's got the most leases here. But to get an idea around production, we would have to connect to data sets using a schema in Power Pivot to determine what operator or petroleum company is producing the most petroleum across multiple different leases. Okay, so that's good. We're going to go Control N next, new workbook. Okay, that's all saved, so I can close that. Beautiful. All right, cool. So from here, I'm going to go data. I'm going to go get data. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from file, from Excel workbook. Okay, and I'm going to come down to my mining um, market sort of series here. So I'm going to go Queensland Petroleum Leases because this is the raw data set that we've just collected here. So this is just a way of automating a workflow in Excel. So we go table one or petroleum leases, that's okay. We'll go transform data here. All right, so we're coming up with Power Query Editor next. So if you watch some of my Power Query Editor videos, this will give you a bit of an understanding of how this all works. So straight away, the X and Y, I'm not doing any mapping here today, so I don't need these columns straight away. I can clean this up. So the reason we clean on Power Query and not in Excel like an accountant is because these steps here in Power Query are saved. And when I go to update the raw data set in, say, 12 months' time, I can then go and merge those two queries together or append those queries together, remove duplicates in the raw data set using Power Query, and then this connection here will be automatically refreshed in the dashboard. Um, so, I have a system here that is pretty much fully automated that can give me insights on the Australian mining industry at any given time. So that's the reason why we do it this way. All right, so down here we know that this is going to be the lease title. Um, Down here, okay, we have a look here. Empty. It tells you how many empty columns there are. So 56%. Okay, well that's not going to be any good to us. Permit type, they're all 14, are they? That's what it looks like there. So yeah, they're all the same. That's not any value. These are all petroleum leases. We know that they're petroleum leases, so we don't need that. We know it's a PL because it's got PL here, so we don't need that. Permit number, I guess permit number could be somewhat valuable if it's sort of going up in a sequence of how many permits there are. So yeah, that could be of use. I won't get rid of that just yet. Permit stat, are they just all three? One and three. Okay, I don't know what a permit statistic is, so I'm just going to get rid of that for now. Can change this later on if renewal lodge replacement permit application. Okay, well, that might be worth it. I just go renewal status on this, that might be worth keeping for the ones that are where the permission here is under an application, for example, we might need that. So we'll say permit status here, permit status. Okay. So I guess that's the type of mine that it is, on gas, oil. Okay, cool. Is it useful to us? Well, we've got it here again, I guess. So it's not really that important. I'm just going to get rid of this for this analysis because, uh, you know, we're not diving in that deep. If I was working for a petroleum-based company, it might be a bit of a different story, but in this instance, I don't really mind for this particular example. Okay, over here next, we've got the companies. So that's the operator here. So the operator, yep. So operator is here. This information, once again, if you're looking at, you keep this qualitative data if you're working in the industry, because just in case that, someone in the business might want it, but for this case, we're not really too worried about that. Okay, so area sub, um, that could be the size of the area there. I'm not 100% sure. Okay. And then here, we're just going to get rid of all this shape up here as well, because that's not useful to us at all. These are just full of nulls. So you can see that these are 100% empty. There's not really any data in these columns at all. So, I'm not going to keep something with no data. These are all zero. That's not going to help me. That's probably not going to help me. And this is probably not going to help me either. Okay. So realistically, what I'm interested in is, when was it approved and when's the expiry date, okay, for this particular analysis. So I'm going to get rid of the lodge date, and authorize bit here. I'm going to say that could potentially be the, it could potentially be the size for the particular um, block, potentially, and then the block could be across multiple lease titles. I think that's block size. Could be wrong there, but I think that's block size. All right. So some of these you have to go back and have a look at. And when you're working in a business, it's pays to sort of have someone to run ideas from. So just to change the columns here, you just drag across. Okay. But we're just having a bit of a punt here today, trying to get some insights from a data set. All right. Cool. All right. So approval date here. Okay. This is going to get interesting now. So I need to get rid of some of this, and I need to, so to do this, I need to go here, transform, split column by delimiter. And I'm going to go by space here, I think. So we're going to go space. We're going to go OK. All right, so I've got the date there. I don't need whether it was AM or PM. I don't need the time here for the approved date, so I can just clear these out. All right, cool. So approved date here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go approved year. Okay, so I'm going to build a new variable here, and I'm going to go date.year. Yep. Okay, and date.year, and the variable that I'm going to use in this case is the approved date 1. I'm going to go here, no syntax errors. I'm going to go approved. Okay, there we go. I've got my approved year. Right, so now I've got my approved year. I can just get rid of this. And this is the good thing, like you can just get rid of these columns. You don't have to worry about keeping them or hiding them, like in Excel sometimes when you put in formulas and then the formulas don't work, just get rid of it. Okay, and that's pretty cool. We'll go same again on expiry date. So same process again, split by delimiter. We're going to go by space. Okay, we don't need this. This is rubbish. Okay, so we've got our expiry date here. So now we're just going to do the same process again. Okay, so we go in here, and we want expiry year. Okay. Now for expiry year, we're going to go expiry date 1. Okay, so it's date.year again, date.year. Okay, and I'm going to go expiry date. Okay, cool. So there we go. There's the expiry year. So now the old date column is irrelevant. All right. So I go, okay, well, what can I make out of this metrics here? So I can go, okay, length of lease. So the length of lease hold is what I've been doing because that tells you how long the operator has held the lease for. So these guys at Bridgecourt in the Surat Basin, they've held their lease from 1963 to 2026 was when it's up for expiry next. It's PL1, lease number PL1. So I'm going to go length of lease hold. Okay, so we want the big number minus the small number here. So expiry year, and we go minus approved year. Okay, now I've got the length of lease hold here as well within this data set. Okay, all right, so the approved year, they've got 17% empty, 17% empty here. So there's some that we don't know within this data set. And for me, you know, I'm a bit OCD. I like it clean whole way through. So, if I'm calling the shots, I'm getting rid of the empties because that's, some unknowns within the data set. It's okay to push it through. It depends on, what your manager's asking for within the business. But, for the case of this analysis, I'm going to go remove empty. Okay. And now I've removed empty here. It's removed it here as well. So what we want to look for is we want 0% on empties here across the whole data set. Okay. So that tells us that we have good, valuable data across the whole data set. Okay. Um, and that's what we want when we're cleaning a data set. We want consistency. So to look at this in Power Query, you can go column profile down here, column distribution here. So you can sort of have a bit of a look and go into a further analysis from there. Um, we don't need that today. That's good. All right. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close and load. Okay. So this is my new workbook now. So all that data, raw data that's sitting there in my raw data set, it is now being connected here into this workbook. So I have my new data set here in this workbook, and I'm going to save this, and I'm going to call this, let's say we're going to call it, I'll go back in here. So this will be Queensland Petroleum leases. And I'm just going to call it Power Query, okay? Because I know that it's been cleaned in Power Query, and that's the clean file there, okay? So one of the things to remember too, it can get a little bit clunky when you're using Excel workbooks and saving them into folders because it's all to do with the length between the workbooks. So when you're using Power Query and establishing connections between Excel workbooks, you can't move the Excel file because if you do, then the source code changes and there's a connection breaks and it just stuffs everything up. So even if your folder's a little bit messy, it's best just to keep it in the spot that you originally put it in. Don't go sort of foldering it up with this. The best way to go about it is just to have one workbook full of raw data and then just go into Power Query and clean them all up and connect them in Power Query if you're, or you can potentially do multiple different workbooks, but then you have to connect everything in Power Pivot. Okay, so there's a few different kind of workarounds, but that's how it goes. All right, so here now I'm going to go the table from table range. Okay, so we want this, Control Shift across and down. We want to go to a new workbook here. Okay, cool. So now I can sort of have a bit of a look. All right, what am I going to try and build out here? So I like to go sort of by operator typically. Okay, so the first one might want to look at, I'm just going to copy a few pivot tables here just to speed this process up a little bit because we don't have a lot of time in this recording. Over an hour, 2 hours, people will get bored pretty quickly, especially with some of the stuff happening here. Okay, so this is another problem that you can get. You need to space these pivot tables out. So you go insert here, you go entire row. Okay, but by highlighting, you get more space there. And then you go again, insert entire row. Okay, that's my little trick there to work around that. Okay, let's go operator again. All right, so straight up, we're going to go operator and we're going to go values. Okay, so let's have a look at what operator has the most leases. So what operator appears the most. So I'm going to go up here to sort options, descending by count of operator. Okay. Okay, so Santos Limited has the most leases there. Okay, so that's an insight there pretty quickly in the whole sort of space. I'm going to build this pivot table out a little bit just so everyone can kind of see. Okay. So now I can see the length of the lease. So lease title down here. Okay. So what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to get rid of a few subtotals. Field settings, subtotals, none. Get rid of that. Okay. And then what we want to do is we want to go up to design and you want to go down to tabular. Okay. And that just breaks it down a little bit more. Okay. So we can see everything for Santos, everything for Australia Pacific, and so forth. So what I want to do is I probably want to try and get we filter it out by operator. That'd be okay. In this case, probably what I'd do is I'd just insert a slicer here. So I'd go insert slicer by operator here. So let's just say we want an operator. I'm going to go 2 columns here because it's quite a lot of operators. Okay. And then from there, I'm now going to go begin for another slicer. And we are going to go by permit status. Okay, they're all granted, so that's not going to help us. We're going to go down for renewal status. And we also want to know the expiry year. That's important too. Okay. Yes, if I go renewal lodge, I can see what leases here are up for renewal. So the length of the leasehold, how long they've been, that means how many years they've been holding it for so far. Okay, and that just gives us a bit of an idea there. So I can see, all right, replacement permit application. Santos has got some there. Okay, sure, makes sense. UPM Energy, all right. And if I want to look at who's expiring here in 25 this year, I can see which Santos sites there are looking to expire this year. Go down here, have a bit more of a look, and there's a bit of a spread there. Okay. So that's sort of how you would sort of start building out an analysis here within this particular industry. So you can color the tabs, obviously, pretty straightforward. Get it all together so it's a little bit more coherent and a bit easier to read. Okay, cool. All right, so now I'm going to go design, back into tabular again. Okay, cool. All right, so obviously it's just one lease title because I've sort of spread them all out here, but there's some that have got 3. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so don't worry about that for now. So I can see who's got what lease title here next. Okay, so that kind of really gives me good depth of, what who's on what lease. I got approved here. This will then tell me, okay, well, who's had their lease for a long time. So I can go down here and go more sort options, sending by approved year. Okay, and now that'll come up with the oldest down here for each particular operator first. So 1977 is AGL gas storage is oldest lease here in Queensland, and I can just break that all down from there. Okay. All right, guys. So that kind of concludes my analysis for today. For the first part of Queensland Petroleum leases, this is basically the foundation of getting the data extracted from the source, transforming it Power Query and cleaning before loading into Excel to do some pivot tables before graphing out um, different parts of the analysis and building a dashboard. So that gives you a bit of a understanding there as to how this process works with scaling the Australian mining industry. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll look forward to watching you in the next video. Cheers.